Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between, including how Brandis just tried to rush me into this recording, even though I'm sitting here waiting on her to record. We're your host. I'm Sybil Amuti. Yeah, I did that.
And I'm Brandis Daniel. The completely innocent Brandis Daniel, by the
Yeah,
way.
right. Y'all have listened. If you have listened all 98 episodes, you know good and well the innocence was lost long ago.
Oh, Lord.
What's up, great girlfriends?
Hey, great girlfriend.
Let's just
Great.
let me tell them how much we love them.
Oh, my God. We love y'all so much. Sybil, Sybil and I are laughing so hard because, quite honestly, we're delirious right now.
Delirious. We have
We're
lost it.
totally delirious. We've totally lost it all. It's 9:42 p.m. at night right now.
Let me
And
just
we're
say,
recording.
we better get. Let me tell you something. If y'all don't rush to iTunes and give us the Go Hard 5-star review right now, because
Please.
we are in the middle, the thick of planning for what women want. I mean, like, we're like right in it, and there's so much going on. Yet we are stopping tonight to dedicate this episode to all, however many thousands of you that are listening.
Yes. A quick little thank you on iTunes. Just a quick
Just a
thank you
quick
on
thank you.
iTunes.
That's
As
a
an
quick thank you.
iTunes review.
Yes, and show your receipts, and we might give you a little gift.
Oh,
I'll let
Lord.
Brandon sing to you.
Exactly. I'm always up for that.
I know, right?
Always.
Listen, girlfriends, I'm telling you, when I say tired, so whatever we say on this podcast, I want you to charge it to Brandis. Don't charge it to me. I want you to email Brandis@brandis.com. Don't e- don't
Oh, my
email
goodness.
me.
All right, Sybil.
Don't
I'll
email
take it.
me. Speaking of, listen, there are a few tickets left to What Women Want. Just a
There
few.
are. Yes.
And if you were for 1 second doubting coming to the conference, I'm here to tell you in your ear, let me whisper it, get there.
Yes.
Get
That's what
there.
Sky does to me. When I whisper to her,
Well,
she
she
whispers
whispers
right
back.
back to me.
It's
Hmm.
so cute. I love it.
Oh my goodness, it's gonna be so much fun. I cannot wait. It's like all becoming real. You know, when you're like planning something. If you've ever worked on a big event or a wedding or a baby shower, it's like you're just working on all the details. And then towards the end, you can finally kind of see it come to life.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm always waiting on that moment when I can literally visualize like myself doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing at this event and seeing the people's faces. And like finally, I've kind of had that vision.
Yeah. I'm feeling like, I'm telling you, every email and every text and every like RSVP and every little thing that's going into the swag bag just excites me. Every speaker retweet. Vanessa DeLuca, thank you so much. Tiffany Budgetnista, Patrice Washington, Sherry Riley, all your retweets and all your Instagram posts and everything. It just keeps stirring me up. I get so excited.
Yes.
I'm so excited. And Prudential, come on.
Prudential.
Come on, Prudential. Could you be a better brand partner? No. Like,
Right.
seriously, they're thinking of you, girlfriends. They are literally going through every detail. They're combing through details we don't even think of. You know, they just want everything to be perfect, a perfect experience for you. So we can't thank Prudential enough for being absolutely the best brand partner, the best ally in this mission for legacy building for women and empowerment and inspiration and legacy planning, financial planning, all things. Thank you, Prudential. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And the team there is so amazing. Oh,
Yes, 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 yes. Dorinda Walker not calling names. Monique Jackson not calling any names. Eliza not calling names. Deborah not calling names. Just saying. What a great team.
exactly.
What a
It's
great
amazing.
and Dan.
And Dan, right?
If you're listening, Dan. Really quickly, we have a review. Hint, hint, because we love reviews on iTunes that I want to share before we dive into Brandis's sermon for the week. And this review is so good. I just wanted to read it
It's a
in.
new one?
It's one that we haven't read.
Okay.
It is. It says too much fun, by Jasmine Ridges. I literally listen to you every week. Jasmine, I don't even listen every week. So you are like
Oh,
50 episodes up on me, Jasmine. She says, I'm a newbie to your podcast, but I'm definitely gaining ground. Your podcast is like being able to sit at the grown folks table.
I love that.
Not to talk, but to keep silent and listen. That is so sweet. She says, you both are empowering women, and I aspire to build bridges for youth the way you all have for women. So keep up the good work and know you have a committed listener over here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
That's
And
fantastic.
Sybil, you
Yeah.
got to call out that blog post.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We we got a blog post last week. Sybil sent me a message, and again, we're in the thick of planning. So the thick of planning means that we're up sometimes to midnight. Then we wake up and we're up on a call at 7 a.m. Then we're texting all day long with Crystal, who is our event planner.
Right, right.
Then we're like, it is like an all day thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sybil sends me this message, and it just says, this is why we do the podcast. And I was like, yes, yes, yes.
Yes. This was completely, listen, Shayna Atkins, you completely blew our minds and just made us feel warm and fuzzy inside with this blog post on Medium, and it's called Great Girlfriends Podcast Digital Mentors. And let me tell you, Shayna is so detailed. Shayna went through about 4 episodes that she felt were the most important ones to listen to. And the thing that she closed out this post with, she said, through the Great Girlfriends, I have big sisters who hand me the keys when I need them. Oh, come on, Shayna. I have not met them, but I listened, did the work, and started to grow. With me and me first, then by the glory, and I am slowly building a network of great women who have my back in person, over conference call, on the internet, and yes, via podcast. And I just love this because Shayna was talking about how she had her heart on set on having a physical mentor, and she had trouble meeting the person that would fill that space. And she says that her focus was off, and then she went on to say she's adopted myself and Brandis as her digital mentors in my entrepreneurship journey with a lens on all things life, including confidence, service, love, and finance. And then she talks about, what did she say? This was my favorite line, Shayna, because I read it multiple times.
I
Brandon
know
said,
exactly which line you're talking about.
"Where is it? Where's my line? Hold on.
Something about picking up earphones.
Yes, yes." And I'm trying to find it. She said, "Oh, she said something about what she was imagining in these fly mentors that she would have that would have lunch with her and brunch with her. However." And she said, my fly boss woman is available. All I needed was earbuds during weekly business trips and Saturday cleaning rituals.
Oh,
Shayna Atkins, we're calling her full government. Thank you so much. We have shared the article, and I hope, girlfriends, you'll go out and read Shayna's article on Medium and check out the podcast that she recommends. And anytime you feel celebrated by someone else, you always have to give joy back and also pay it forward in return. So Shayna, we thank you.
yes. Thank you so much, Shayna.
Thank you, Shayna. And Shayna, you're the reason why we're up tonight. Tonight, we are talking through the 5 ways to elevate your thinking. And this one is uber
But
important.
Sybil,
Go ahead.
hold on real quick. If you guys hear some clicking, click, click, click. It is Sybil's fancy nails. You guys know Sybil got a full set a couple months ago. And she is still figuring out how to work with this full set of nails. And she is tap, tap, tapping all in our great girlfriend's ear. You're not supposed to use your nails to tap, Sybil.
I can't breathe right now.
Use the tip of your finger.
I
And you have
was
to point it up
trying.
so that your nails do not touch the keyboard.
I went and got these red light district stiletto heel nails. And
I'm like, what is this tapping?
I'm so sorry, girlfriends. But Brandis was the one that told me to go look up the article. I was just trying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. To anyone who's judging our sound, I'm super sorry about that. Listen, it is what it is. This week you're just gonna have a few packs and you'll be fine. And it is my fancy nails taking over. That's what it was. So sorry. Oh my goodness. So anyway, this week's episode is about 5 ways to elevate your thinking.
Yes.
And
I,
this one was one that was inspired personally for me by seeing Jeff Koons' art installation in Rockefeller Center. If you're in New York or if you're coming to What Women Want next weekend, you'll see that there is an inflated 45-foot inflated ballerina sitting in Rockefeller Center. And I looked at this piece of art when I was there the other day, and I was blown because I said, I wonder if he knew when he started as an artist that one day he would, be or have an inflated ballerina in Rockefeller Center. And then I was like, who dreams of these things? And the answer came to me, people with big minds who dream big and think big.
yes.
And so, Brandis and I were talking earlier, and we wanted to, even as we look at What Women Want, what two women who put together a podcast 2 years ago imagine that we'd be sitting in year two, 99 episodes into a podcast and having a full conference with brand partners and people actually coming and people listening to a podcast. And I'm going to salute us and say we were dreaming big and thinking big. We had
Absolutely.
elevated thinking. We were thinking about something bigger than us.
Absolutely.
And so, Brandis, for you, tell me what you would define as elevated thinking.
Hmm. I would say for me, it's like thinking of something that is bigger than myself, that's bigger than things I've seen, um, that can be a lot bigger than what my reality currently is, and maybe even bigger than the realities of everyone around me.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah.
I
What
love
about
it.
what about you?
I would say elevated thinking for me would be really being in tune or connected to your higher calling,
Mm,
being in a God thought, what is
yeah.
God, thinking above ground, which is not where you can see, but where you're going or where God is
Right.
positioning you.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's not an easy place to get to. And, most of us have to go from our small thinking to our elevated thinking. Most of us don't start out, or I'll say if we do start out with elevated thinking, something along the way, will come and try to chop us at our knees. Someone says you can't make it. Someone says that's impossible. A teacher tells you, you're a lefty, you should be a righty. Someone leaves your life and abandonment tells you that you can't have certain things. And it just restricts you from even embracing what you're saying, thinking about something bigger than yourself or being even connected to that God calling.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes we do it to ourselves so fast.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about within like 30 seconds.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
we we start out saying, okay, I know Oprah's not on anymore, guys, but we start out saying, I'm gonna be on Oprah. You
Mm-hmm.
know what? I'm gonna be Oprah. And they were like, oh, you know what? Let me just see if I can get on the ABC News here. Oh, you know what? Let me just call over to igotyu.com and see if they'll.
I love it. I got you.com.
And let's see if they'll interview me. Like
Yeah.
we talk ourselves out of big things so fast. Or we say, I'm gonna write a book. No, you know what? Writing a book's gonna be too much. Let me just do a blog post.
Yeah.
Nah, you know what? Let me just post this on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we will go even with traveling, right? I want to go to Paris for my birthday. I want to go to Paris. I want to go to Paris. And we're like, Paris is this, Paris is that. You know what? I'm just going to go to Miami. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to do a dinner here. Like we just talk ourselves
Yeah.
out of our big things so fast.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think about, as a child, going back, I mean, I'm a super, like, my mind is always on, like, how can I save the world? I'm going to change the world. And I'm always thinking about that kind of thing. And as a child, I can recall just dreaming about people and thinking about people and imagining changing the world. But for me, growing up and even as an adult, it took me a long time to realize, or to decide who could change the world. I gave
Mm,
other people the rights to change the world. Well, Nelson Mandela, he can change the world. Well, Big
right.
Jesus can change the world. But who changes the world?
Right.
We do. The elevated
Right.
thinkers are the ones that change the world.
Oh, so but that just gave me butterflies because you remember we did an episode on the hero you've been waiting for,
Yes.
right? And when I think about the hero we're waiting for in this world, everybody talks about how bad the world is, how bad things are. But like, who's running for office? And what's stopping you from running for office?
Who changes the world? Exactly.
What's stopping you from saying, I'm going to be the mayor of my city?
Right. Right.
There's nothing stopping you. As a matter of fact, there's somebody who's listening to this podcast right now who, because of that statement, has decided to take some political office or go for some. If you guys, if that's you, make sure you please email us because that's our responsibility, and I'm guilty of it too. Oh, I can't believe this is happening in politics, or I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe this is happening in our schools and all these things. But if we don't have a seat at the table, right? If we don't have a seat at the table, it's very hard for us to make a difference. And how do you get a seat at the table?
Yeah. You have to have elevated thinking.
You have to have
You have
elevated
to have an
thinking.
elevated thinking and elevated vision and elevated moves and elevated everything. And you have to recognize, when you ask yourself the question, who changes the world? When I sit with that question, I look around at all of the people who did not wait for permission. They just took their own permissions and they made their own choices to decide that they had the capacity to change the world. And maybe they didn't start with the world. Like you said, they started somewhere. But through elevated thinking and elevated choices, they were able to become agents of change around the world. We can even look at, people in the corporate arena. We can start with what's in front of us. We can look at influencers in our community, like you say, ministers and rabbis, and we can look at, and even for those people, some people say, well, they're called. Yeah, but they had to accept the calling. They had to embrace the calling. And each one of us is called. We are called to
Right.
think beyond ourselves, but we have to be willing to embrace whatever that divine calling is and decide that we're going to pursue it. And like you said, go outside of our bodies, outside of our house, outside of our boxes and our bills, and think higher, bigger, greater.
And sometimes it takes time. Like, once you think bigger, it doesn't mean bigger is going to come right away. But when you think bigger, life prepared you for bigger. So
Yeah.
the first person I thought about was our great girlfriend, Bose,
Mm.
who is
I was
now
thinking
the
of her
chief
too.
brand officer for Uber. You better
Yes.
go.
Yes. Chief Brand Officer for Uber. Yes.
And I was reading through an article today, and it was talking about she started as she worked in marketing for Ashley Stewart, and
Mm-hmm.
and then Pepsi, and then Beats by Dre, and then Apple. But she started before working for an advertising agency,
Yeah.
and even when she was in that role, I can imagine that you know I can imagine her personality was probably too big for that role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like her thoughts was too big for that role, but all those things like pushed her to where she needed to be. And
Yeah.
we have to know that even when you think big, don't expect for it to happen overnight. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes 10 years. Sometimes it takes, it takes a long time sometimes, but you still have in order for you to get there, I feel like in order for life to kind of groom you and God to groom you to be that, you have to keep that big thing in front of you.
Yeah, and you think about it, Brandis, the more you embrace the idea that there is something greater, that there is more, and that you have a responsibility to it, I feel like your capacity for more grows even more. And I'm using that word redundantly, but it's a more, it's higher, it's greater, it's bigger. And I feel like the more you center yourself in a space where you are in pursuit of the higher being or your own, the higher way of thinking, you start to see those results around you. You start to feel yourself surrounded with people who share the same mindset, and your capacity to do more really does grow with that.
Yeah.
Because our little engine that could, this little baby passion project that went out to like 50 friends, back in July of 2015, is growing into a larger media platform for women, and it's just continuing to build upon itself. And it wasn't by us saying, well, I already have enough. I got a husband, kids, and this going on, and Brandis is pregnant with a husband, and we have businesses. We're doing enough. No, we knew there was a greater responsibility. But before we start talking more into that, some people are thinking, you know, I'm good right where I am. That's not for me. I'm having a hard enough time handling what I'm all, the things I already do. How can I be an elevated thinker? Or I just never was smart enough, you know? And I would charge you to say, if you're feeling or experiencing any of those thoughts, then you are thinking small. And there's a few problems with small thinking that Brandis and I want to work you through, that you could, don't raise your hand, don't scream out in the car, don't honk your horn, but do grab your pen and paper, because
Yes. Yes.
it's time to take notes. Yeah, but okay, so number one problem with small thinking, you get small results. And
Yeah.
how many of us have murmured and complained about not enough, insufficiency, not having enough means to do what we want to do in life, not having enough fulfillment, not getting enough opportunity, not seeing enough doors open, not seeing enough people of color in positions of authority or on television or, in office, or not seeing enough women, not getting enough equal pay. Well, that's because we're not doing enough.
Mm,
We, are taking on a very limited mindset that says it's for someone else to do. And therefore, we as a people are getting small results. And when
absolutely.
you think small, you get small results, not just for yourself, but for your family, your community, your village, your nation, your gender, whatever it is that you are connected to.
Absolutely. And I would say number two, the problem with thinking small is that it's not inspiring to
Right.
you or to anyone else. And the thing about thinking really, really big is that thing when I tell you, like, it makes you feel like you can fly.
Yeah.
When you like really think big and you see it, and it just motivates you to keep moving, and it motivates the other people to kind of mobilize behind you with
Yeah.
this. Like, honestly, it's like one thing saying I'm going to open my own restaurant, right? People
Mm-hmm.
are excited. You're going to open your own restaurant? Oh my god, that's so cool. Versus saying I'm going to bring, a few catfish plates after church and sell them at the car. It's just, I'm not that excited or pressed to, get behind you on that. I mean, do your thing, but I don't feel like I need to be a part of that. It doesn't feel like anything that inspires me.
Yeah, but wait
So,
a minute, Brandis. Let's be clear. I would buy two plates
oh, I was
and get.
about to say,
I'm just
you got
messing with you.
spaghetti on the side,
I put
and
my
yes, we
spaghetti on
do
the
eat
side.
spaghetti on the
I'm
side,
getting that hot
but
plate,
we'll get the hot plate. But
but I'm not
you know,
inspired. You're right.
I'm not, you're not inspired. You're not
No.
inspired to, whereas like thinking, having elevated thoughts and having elevated thinking, like it not only inspires you, it really does inspire all the people around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another problem with small thinking is that it is boring.
Oh my God.
It's like you can imagine, and don't call them by name, but imagine some of your girlfriends that you call and you're like, "What are you up to?" And they're like, "Nothing."
And
What
you
you
just
doing?
like, mm,
I have one particular girlfriend I just adore. I'm calling her. I'm like, "Where are you?" "I'm on a 5K." "Where are you?" "I'm in Hawaii." "Where are you?" I'm working on my nonprofit." I'm like, "Okay, but didn't you just have a baby?" And she's like, "Yeah." "What, and I'm like, "Well, let me find five things to do."
right,
I'm just inspired by you, and I'm stimulated.
right,
And I want to be around her because I love the stimulation. When people think small, or when you think small, people don't want to be around you because there is no stimulation to offer.
right.
And let's
Or
be clear, this is a human ecosystem, and we are all feeding off of each other.
yes,
I'm using my fancy nails to
she
display
is.
an ecosystem. But we are all feeding off of each other, which means, and we go back to the one we love. If iron sharpens iron, we require that stimulation. So if I'm bored by you, I don't desire to be around you. I won't group think with you. I won't support your ideas. I don't want to be near you because I'm not stimulated by you.
Yes. Yes. Enough said, Sybil.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and yes. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. That's all I can say. Like, because if you're boring, oh God, can't take it. It's like, honestly, I honestly cannot take it. Drives me up a wall.
Yeah.
Because you can't even, if you can't think big for yourself, then that means you can't think big for me.
Yeah.
And I like people who can challenge me and make me think bigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we're not coming up with creative ways to help influence change and influence culture and make an impact and make this world better for our families, what are we doing?
I don't know what we're doing.
We're just taking up air, and that's not cool.
Watching TV.
We're watching TV, Greenleaf to be specific, one of my one of my guilty pleasures.
Princess Diaries.
Right, right. All right, you want to hit number 4?
Yeah. So, so number 4 is it really restricts the guide flow, right?
Yeah.
So when you don't have elevated thinking, a lot of times you're thinking about what is it that I'm able to do right now with my resources. So
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking about your resources and then you restrict your thinking based on what you have. Mm, mm, mm.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
terrible
Isn't it
because
terrible?
what about what God has? What about what He's promised you? What
Yeah.
about what He's promised us? What about the fact that, the way we please Him is by having faith?
Yeah.
Like, what about all those things?
Yeah.
What about faith?
It
And
go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
And so we restrict him because we're thinking so small and we're thinking we've literally put our thoughts inside of our financial box,
Mm-hmm.
or we can't think beyond the relationships that we currently have.
Right.
We can't think beyond the neighborhood we're currently in,
Yeah.
or the city we're currently in, or the country we're currently in. Like,
Or the circumstance.
or the circumstance we're
Mm-hmm.
currently in.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just, oh, okay. I know I'm going to be convicted when I get off this podcast for something, because anytime we tell you guys something, you have to know we have to
It
deal
comes
with it too.
knocking. Absolutely.
But I'm just like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm just like, I mean, imagine if for you had, you know, a whole refrigerator full of food for your child,
Mm-hmm.
and you had all these resources for your child, and because you gave them an allowance of $5, and let's say they bought, like, popsicles with that $5. All they want is the popsicles. When you've got like all of these other things they could potentially have, but
Mm-hmm.
they're only asking for the thing that they bought.
Right.
You would be so annoyed. You'd be like, "Are you sure that's all you want? Like, are
Yeah.
you sure? Like, you
Yeah.
haven't eaten all day. Are you sure?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he can't force it on us.
Absolutely. And that's something too. And then when you think about it like that, it's saying that I look at God as one of my resources versus my source. And it's kind of like, if I needed a little money or I'm swiping different debit cards and God is one of my cards and I swipe that one last. Well, let me try this card. Instead
Ugh.
instead of
Ugh.
instead of going first to God, but when you have small thinking, it's because you've disconnected yourself from the idea that God is the source and that He's just another resource. And because He's just another resource, He's just as limited as all the other resources that you're looking at. Isn't
Oh,
that
Sybil.
something?
That was a donk.
I'm sorry. Boosh.
As
since
the
we
game
since
is on
since we
tonight.
in the game, right? Since the game is on. So, but we don't want to leave you there, girlfriends. Listen, you don't have to leave this podcast the way you came, right? You could tell we grew up in church. We have all the sayings.
Oh, that was hilarious. Okay, go ahead. I told you guys we're delirious tonight.
We're completely out of it tonight. But you really don't. And I mean, I promise you, one of the things, and this is so funny because I can almost hear a minister saying this, but it's not enough for us to, put ourselves out in the streets, vulnerable, and sharing our journey and our experiences and allowing other thought leaders to come on and share. And then you go back to thinking small, or you go back to limiting yourself, or you go back to talking about your circumstances all the time, boring your friends crazy. They don't even want to call anymore. People just don't want that, or you looking out the window and all you can see is that little crack. You can't see this large world that's waiting on your thought leadership. So
Yes.
we have these 5 ways. Press pause, y'all. I don't know why Brandis decided to fix her hair in the middle of this podcast. I'm sorry, y'all. I just have to acknowledge this. She just did a full. Let me tell you something. She's had a scarf on this whole time,
I sure have.
and she just broke out and started. Oh, you know what? Her husband must be on his way home. That's what it is. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Because here comes Rich.
Oh.
5 ways for you to elevate your thinking. Let's do it. Go for it.
So groupthink
Yeah, so
is
good.
number one. Like groupthink.
Yes, community thinking. Throwing your idea out in the pool and saying, how can this come to life? Sharing vision, being open to connecting with people who share, similar thought leadership, or who are just looking to grow and looking to be connected. So really getting yourself in a think tank mindset so that you're open to the idea that creativity and elevation can flow through you.
Absolutely. Which is what we'll do next week at the What Women Want conference. So those of you
Yes,
who are going to be in attendance, you'll definitely be doing the group thing
that's
for
right.
sure.
That's right. Number 2, determine your stretch. I do this every month and I almost cringe. Every single month. Okay, so I'm one of those girls that I take the dry erase marker and I write on my bathroom mirror.
Mhm.
I write every single month and I write something that's a stretch for me. Something that is beyond what I currently feel is in my capacity. Something that requires me to think bigger, aspire bigger, pursue bigger, ask more questions, and surround myself in a different way. And I put that down as my stretch. And
Yeah.
I determine every month that I'm going to be able to at least get closer and closer to my stretch. If I'm getting close to my stretch, I'm already beyond myself. I might not reach my full stretch, but I'm definitely outside of myself, even aspiring to go there. It's kind of like the gym. You keep going until you get to where you need to go, but you stop going, you'll never get there. And so for me,
Absolutely.
that's what the stretch is about. Every single month, it could be different categories for me. It's anywhere where I feel, and this is for me is more of an instinctive leading. For someone else, it could just be they like a challenge or they need a challenge in an area where they've been stagnant, but something that is bigger beyond. And because charity is something that's huge for me, I love to stretch myself by connecting with charity, because when I go out and serve others, I then start to grow my mindset or my desire to help more and do more. And so that for me is a
Absolutely.
stretch.
Absolutely. And number three is like go get a passport. That's not actually not number three.
No, but
Number
seriously.
three, but number three is actually like travel. Like go experience other cultures. Go experience other cities.
Mm-hmm.
Go experience other neighborhoods in your own city,
Absolutely.
right? Um, like just start somewhere, but think about like what country can I go to that I've never been to before?
Yeah.
Where can I travel that I've never been to before? Because it really does stretch you. Like if you always go to Europe, consider going to Asia. If you always go to Asia, consider going to South America. So and if you haven't been out the country yet, start planning a trip out the country. If you haven't been out the state yet, but just do something that takes you out of your comfort zone and that gives you a different experience.
Absolutely. I love it. So critical. You're absolutely right. Number
Sometimes,
four.
sometimes. Mhm.
Number 4 is all about reading. Reading. Don't
Yeah,
ever say you don't have when you can
right.
go grab a book. And a classic example of that, a really great example is some of our brothers who are incarcerated. They will find a book. They will find their legal counsel when when they don't have a human. They will find a book. They will go to the library. They'll study. People in other countries do it a lot more than we do as Americans. We tend to look for things on TV. But there are so many publications and articles and books and reference materials that can take you higher. We have no excuse for not being able to attain knowledge. There are books from thought leaders. There are books on facts. There are books on interest. There are books on novels, everything that surrounds you. And if you tell me you don't have it, I'm going to tell you to find a library card. And if you tell me you don't have a library card, I'm going to say shame on you. Shame on
Right.
you. Because that's an easy way for you to go and access some of the tools that you need when you need it. But being able to take a few minutes, pick up a book. Just pick
Yes.
up a book and study a little bit. Study a little bit. Learn about other people's paths. Learn something different. Explore something different through a book. You can start there and then decide how you want to go bigger. But definitely elevate your thinking by reading.
Absolutely. And do some things that are outside of your comfort zone. Like,
Mm.
just, a lot of us, we are such creatures of habits.
Mm-hmm.
We have something that we have to do every single day. And sometimes it's like pushing yourself even past like your tiredness or your exhaustion. And
Mm-hmm.
I know some of y'all great girlfriends are running around everywhere with your kids, but figure out, hire a babysitter and find some time for yourself and go to that new restaurant or go play paintball
Yeah.
or just go and do like a painting class or go take a floral arrangement class, which is something I want to do.
I know, that's fun.
But do something that's different. To go take an acting class or go do improv or like there's so many different things that you can do. Go on meetup.com and find a group in your city that's meeting about something that you're interested in and go attend that meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So good. So true. It makes all the difference. And number six is asking questions. I can't tell you how many times you're sitting right beside or underneath or around the perfect resource, but because you don't ask questions, you're not getting the answers that you're looking for. And there's
That's
so
so
much
true.
free knowledge out there. And I feel like we miss it and we limit ourselves, we restrict our thinking when we don't take the time to simply ask a question. And ask the question from someone who has shown you evidence of wisdom in that area. I mean, and if you can't find anyone, do what most people do. They go on Facebook and they load their question. Hey, can anyone help me with X, Y, and Z? And then the Facebook experts all sound the internets. They all sound off. They just get, and then you can. But the point is, don't be afraid. This is even at work. It's very important at work because people tend to want to be their best at work, put their best on. But
Right.
how will you learn what the next level is if you don't ask people who are on the next level? If you're trying to go
Yes.
somewhere you've never been before, why not ask someone who's already been in the place that you're trying to go to so that you can get
Yes.
the wisdom to be prepared for your journey?
So that's a whole podcast episode.
I'm just saying.
That right there, because honestly,
Ask
we're
questions.
trying we're trying to figure out, how do I get promoted? How do I move to this department? How do I get another role? And the people who we're asking are our peers.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
asking the people who hadn't gotten a
Who
new
can't,
role and who
right,
hadn't gotten promoted. Instead of going
right.
instead of going and asking the person who's gotten promoted, the person who is the vice president of the company,
Mm-hmm.
the person who's made partner, instead of asking them out for lunch and saying,
Absolutely.
"Hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time?" or "Can I can I get 30 minutes in your calendar? I just want to kind of sit down and talk
Mm-hmm.
and ask some questions." Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, why do
No,
we keep talking to the person in the cubicle next to us?
right, right, who has no answers. So we circulate, we circulate the question back and forth. It turns into a complaint and eventually it turns into a murmur and then a complaint. But it
Right.
starts as a question. And I feel like if we really want to elevate, if you really want to know more, if you really want to ask more, ask questions and get yourself in a room with the answers.
Yes. Absolutely. I love it.
All right, girlfriends, listen, we love you. We love you. We love you some more.
We
And
do.
we love you some more, but we gotta go. We got to go. We got to go, y'all. So I just want to thank Kwaku. He is somewhere just working hard and being fine. Thank you, Kwaku.
And taking care of our graphics for the What Women Want conference.
Yes, he
Oh,
did. He's
thank you
dope.
so much. I had to send him a little note today, Sybil. I sent your husband a note.
Did you? Thank you. It take a village to love on them. It take a village.
And I want to thank my boo Rich, who
Yes.
is working so hard. Thank you so much, babe, for
Thank
just
you, Rich.
supporting every single thing I do and
Yeah,
for
he's
loving
so
me and Sky.
awesome. He's so
Yes.
awesome. Yes. Thank you, Sam and Dylan. Love you, baby, so much. I'm missing your spring concert to be with the ladies at What Women Want, but hopefully you'll understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you to Miss Sky. Guys, Sky just started daycare. We need to do an episode on that.
Yeah. Which we should be calling Brandis just started daycare. That's what it is.
Oh, I stopped the tears from falling today, though. They came, but
Oh.
I didn't let them fall.
Oh, you're doing good. She's been doing good, girlfriends. Keep cheering her forward. Keep cheering her forward.
Oh, Lord.
And thank all of you for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter. Make sure you listen every Wednesday or Thursday on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Bean, Podcast Republic, Blueberry, and every other podcasting service. Be sure to check us out on social. We're on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends.
Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends.
Twitter.
The_Great GFS.
And make sure you join our Facebook group, over 16,000 strong, and that is
The Great Girlfriends.
Make sure you post your questions online, you share with your friends. Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil.
I'm Brandis.
We're signing off.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Peace.